It is a quiet residential neighborhood in Coventry. At least that's what many thought when they bought houses here.
I did not know there was any type of company back there till about 6 or 7 years ago.
Kind of heard him every now and then, but it wasn't a big deal, not like it is now.
Tyler Albert and Diane Salvis are talking about Ferrara Mechanical Services at 225 Hopkins Hill Road, almost hidden from the street. It is a truck repair business right in the middle of a residential zone that neighbors say has drastically changed their quality of life over the past several years. They and the town maintain what started out as a machine shop has expanded its operation over the past decade without permission. Albert came here in 2011.
When I bought the property, you look at the zoning map and there's a big R20 on that property. You think that when you buy this property that, oh yeah, you're in a residential neighborhood. I didn't realize that I had an industrial property in the back. Again, it was supposed to be a machine shop, not heavy-duty auto repair, welding.
But this is what it has become, something that many neighbors were unaware of until the fall of 2016, when Dan Ferrara began digging with a backhoe near the property line of the homeowners, who had a buffer of trees and bushes.
He jumps out of the backhoe, comes up to the fence, starts yelling at us, asks us what we're doing, what we want to know. He was very aggressive. He basically wanted to have a physical altercation with myself.
The town of Coventry, which had issued periodic warnings to Ferrara, finally filed a lawsuit in Kent County Superior Court in the fall of 2016 and secured a restraining order against the business. But the damage had already been done. And this is the view some of the neighbors have had as they've watched the business grow. A little more shielded in the summer, but the winter months give them an unobstructed view of what's going on next door. The case finally went to trial a year later, in December of 2017, and some of the neighbors had the opportunity to testify. But 9 months later, the case remains largely in limbo, and those living here say they feel abandoned by the town and helpless to restore a quality of life that is steadily deteriorated.
This is very exhausting and it's very time-consuming, and it's been going on for years.
Kathy Thoreau has been relentless, pushing council members and other officials to take action and trying to get documents from the town. The house she bought in 2004 is adjacent to the narrow driveway leading to the back of Ferrara's property. Everything was fine the first several years after she moved in, but got worse shortly after Ferrara took over the operation at 225 Hopkins Hill about a decade ago.
You know, it was 24/7, there was more noise, there was dust. So I would call sporadically for a while, and the town would say, okay, we're looking into it. The police would come up and they would look and say that they did make a visit, and I trusted that the town was aware and was actually handling this.
She frequently sees this from her back porch and bedroom, taking multiple pictures and videos to show the town what she has had to live with.
Did you have any idea what was going on back there before then?
No, other than there was a lot of trucks coming in and out, a lot of noise. It's a 24/7 operation.
And what did you think when you saw all of that back there in 2016?
I was shocked.
Thoreau said at first she tried to be nice and see if she could reason with Ferrara.
I can no longer have company in the backyard because I never know when. I've gone over there actually years ago when I knew that I was going to have a cookout, and I would try to be friendly and say, you know, could you please not put any trucks along my fence line this weekend because I'm going to have people over, I'm going to have a cookout. And he would never agree to that. They would always, matter of fact, he'd put 2 trucks there.
Just last month, Thoreau was reading in her backyard when a truck driver stopped and came over, draping 2 arms over her fence. She managed to capture some of it on her phone.
He stopped the truck and then jumped on my fence. He was hanging over the upper part of his body, yelling at me that I had no right to take videos or pictures and that he was going to call a lawyer or a police. I couldn't get everything he was saying. He actually scared me because I didn't expect a guy to jump on my fence. And I tried to take a picture of him or a video, so it was choppy.
According to a police report obtained by the Hummel report, the officer spoke with Ferrara, quote, who advised he was unaware of the incident that occurred and did not know of the party responsible due to heavy traffic in and out all day. Thoreau said the officer didn't even look at her video and just took Ferrara's word for it.
You don't feel very comfortable in your own yard, on your deck, or in your backyard when you have people that are yelling at you.
In response to the lawsuit filed by the town, Ferrara's attorney, Patrick J. McBurney, argued in a court filing the business was simply a continuation of what a previous owner had been doing when Ferrara took over more than a decade ago. A machine repair shop. Simply put, it had grandfather rights, he said. As for the buffer, McBurney wrote that Ferrara was, quote, cleaning up his property by removing small vegetation and shrubbery that Ferrara did not feel contributed to the overall aesthetics of the property. McBurney declined our request for an interview and a tour of his client's property, but 2 no trespassing signs went up at the entrance within days of our request.
In my view, on behalf of the town, I think what they have there is an expansion of some pre-existing use.
Town Solicitor David D'Agostino has been the point man for Coventry on the case.
If a use was taking place before zoning was adopted, as long as that use continues in the same measure, the person and the property owner has the right to continue that use.
But has to come to the town if you want to expand it.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
in
that's
your
correct.
mind, has there been expansion?
In my mind, I think there's been expansion. I think the evidence would suggest that there's been expansion of the use. And there has not been there hasn't been zoning relief requested since 1987 or 88.
You understand the neighbor's frustration, right? Because it's their backyard.
I do, sure. I absolutely understand their frustration. Even though it's not my backyard, I get the concept. I understand their concerns. And by the way, I had an opportunity to have those neighbors testify as to what their concerns were. And they did testify on the record in court.
One of the delays in getting a resolution, the judge wanted the 2 sides to try and reach a settlement after the trial in December.
They wanted us to come to some kind of an agreement so that we could all live together. Well, and we don't want to come to an agreement, so the agreement would be things like, well, you can't have 20 trucks, but you could have 3. You can work 5 days a week, you can't work 7. It was to keep them working. What we're looking for is to see how is this property zoned? Is it only supposed to be a machine shop as the previous owner had it? Do you have grandfather rights to make it into this big industrial business? Or are you just bulldozing through everything and doing whatever you want? You have no permits. The town knows he doesn't have any permits.
Another twist came in December right before the trial, when the judge granted Ferrara a modification to the town's restraining order that had basically stopped him from further altering his property, in order to deal with large pools of water on his land. This series of drone video, taken by one of the neighbor's sons, shows how from May until July of this year, Ferrara cleared and paved a large portion of his property.
I understand exactly what the neighbors are talking about because we subsequently, after they had done some site work, the town received complaints from the neighbors. We went and conducted a site investigation to find out what was taking place there. And I can tell you from my perspective, I saw a lot more what appeared to be paved area than I was anticipating.
You can tell that he wanted to create a big parking lot. So he's flattened the entire property. Now it seems like it's just being dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And I understand the litigation takes time, and I understand it's not overnight, but I don't understand is why there was a restraining order, why there was a modification to the restraining order anyways. You know, I did understand a bit about the water pooling, but you know, keeping a tight leash on that would have been the way to go. I don't understand why there was a modification and then now he's just done everything. How does any work up here reference to the water pooling that was 10 feet from my property line, or 100 feet on the other side, or 150 feet that way. How does that mitigate water pooling that's 10 feet from my property line?
What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see them actually, like I told the lawyer, I said I would like to see them fined every single day that they have kept operating after they had a temporary restraining order.
D'Agostino says the town's hands are tied until the judge makes a decision.
The town cannot force trees to be replanted, cannot force things to happen. Only a judge, through a decision and an order, can actually render a judgment.
The two attorneys met last week with the judge, who ordered them to submit post-trial memos by the end of the week, which means a decision may be on the horizon.
I'm really disappointed in the town that I thought was here to protect its residents. You know, the only place in this world that we should ever feel safe is in our home. And when I have a 9,000-gallon gasoline tanker truck 3 feet from my fence, I don't feel safe. I can't bring my 9-month-old or my 3-year-old out in the backyard to enjoy a backyard that you pay for, you pay taxes for. I don't feel safe.
In Coventry, Jim Hummel for the Hummel Report.